Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to the best damn-related movie show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an honor and a privilege to have you guys joining me here today as we're talking about all of our favorite things, movies, movie news, and all that type of stuff. Looks like Mel Gibson's got the newest film that he's lining up to do for himself. Danny McBride's got a release date and a distributor for his new comedy. Can Josh Brolin maybe be considered for an Academy Award for his work in Avengers Infinity War? We got another new lawsuit against Harvey Weinstein, all types of stuff. But let's get things going right off the top. Now, one of the hottest shows on TV right now that a lot of people are digging is that new show, WESTWORLD. Of course, they just launched season 2, but even though they just launched season 2, it's now officially been announced that WESTWORLD has been renewed for season 3 by HBO. Now, apparently, the season premiere for season 2 came out, and it was higher in the ratings than the season premiere for season 1. The show's done very, very well for HBO. I myself have not seen the first episode of season 2 yet. And I'll admit, WESTWORLD's not my favorite show. It certainly has episodes that were fantastic, and I'm kind of into it a little bit. Enough so that I'm going to keep up with it. I haven't gone around to seeing the beginning of season 2 yet, but I'm interested in it. We'll see if this one picks up and builds upon the success of season 1 or not. Another little piece of news that just broke is that they've been talking a little bit about a potential sequel for Happy Death Day. Now, Happy Death Day, of course, from Blumhouse Productions, was one of the big surprises to me of last year because there was a long streak of really bad low-budget horror films coming out. And then Happy Death Day came out, and I'll be honest with you, I thought it looked bad. I thought it was going to be just the next bad low-budget horror film. But I loved Happy Death Day. I thought it was charming and fun and some good little scares in there, here and there. Terrific performances all around. Anyway, they've been talking about a potential sequel, and now it does seem official. As it's been announced that Jessica Rothe, or I'm never quite sure how to pronounce her last name, and on top of that, the guy who plays her boyfriend Carter in the original film, they are officially coming back. It has been announced. They've also announced a couple of new cast members as well. No official word on what the plot or the story is going to be, whether they'll go back into the Groundhog Day kind of time loop thing, or whether they'll go into something else. I'm not really sure. Like, for instance, what caused the whole time loop thing in the first place? Maybe that's something they can explore, or maybe they'll go off in a completely different direction. Who knows? All I know is that I'm very glad they're doing another one because I loved the story. I loved the characters. I like the dynamic between the two leads. I want to see more of them together, so I'm all on board for a Happy Death Day Part 2. I really like the first one. Okay, now with that out of the way, let's get into some official news stories that have been out for a little bit here. Starting off with this, first up, the newest trailer for the upcoming Marvel film Ant-Man and the Wasp has been released this morning. In the trailer, Michael Peña's character, Luis, explains the general plot of the new film by telling us that Hank Pym, played again by Michael Douglas, goes into the quantum realm, likely looking for his missing wife, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, but the tech that he used to do it has now been stolen by a character known as Ghost, who has the ability to phase through solid matter, and apparently she also wants to take over the world. Surprise, surprise, in a comic book movie, a villain wants to take over the world. I'm going to be honest with you. Any of you guys who have watched my show for any period of time, you know I am one of the bigger Ant-Man fans. I am a bigger fan of Ant-Man than a lot of people were. For whatever reason, that movie just knocked it out of the park for me as a heist film, as a comedy. I thought Paul Rudd was inspired casting. Michael Peña as Luis in it was amazing, like instantly one of my favorite supporting MCU characters there has ever been. I could watch a whole movie of just Michael Peña's character explaining the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That would be entertaining in and of itself. So I was very excited about the new Ant-Man trailer. And I gotta tell you, I mentioned this on Open Mic earlier this morning. I was not thrilled. I was not thrilled. And you know, I was kind of just watching going, okay, come on, do something to really get me into it here. And then they showed that shot of the ant playing drums. And look, maybe I'm taking it out of context, okay? Maybe I'm taking it out of context. But I thought, really? We're going there? An ant playing drums? That's what we're doing now? I thought that was terrible. And that was the only terrible thing about the trailer to me. The rest of it I just found meh. This is just a little bit meh. I'm excited that they're going to go into the quantum realm stuff. Super excited to see Michael Douglas back. Some of the action shots look pretty cool. The whole Goliath exchange, 21 feet, 65 feet. That was cool too. Look, I didn't hate the trailer. I hated that moment with the ant playing drums. That was pathetic and weak. But I didn't hate the rest of it. The rest of it was okay. But I'm not thrilled with the trailer. I'll just be honest with you. As one of the biggest Ant-Man fans out there, and one of the biggest fans of what Peyton Reed did with that first one, but at the same time, I'm not going to get too worked up over it. It's just a trailer. We've seen lots of great movies that had lousy trailers, and I'm not big on this trailer. Hopefully we'll see another one. And I mentioned too this morning that especially since yesterday, they had this big build-up to the Ant-Man trailer with all those cast members from Infinity War talking about, where's Ant-Man? And they building up this trailer release. I was just expecting something a little bit more. Like, look, I'm a big MCU fan, huge Ant-Man fan, but I'm just being honest with you guys. The trailer didn't really do it for me, per se. Still think the movie's going to be great. I still trust Peyton Reed. I still like Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd in these roles, and Michael Douglas is back and Michael Pena's back. Who doesn't love the addition of Walton Goggins to the film? Lawrence Fishburne's in there, Michelle Pfeiffer. It's a great cast. They did a great job last time. I'm sure the movie's going to work out fine, but just being honest with you, the trailer didn't really work for me all that much. All right, well, speaking of not working, how's that for a segue, huh? Well, with the Me Too movement going on, actress Ashley Judd, one of the individuals who actually spearheaded the Me Too movement, is now suing Harvey Weinstein for allegedly torpedoing her career after she refused his sexual advances. Lord of the Rings director and producer Peter Jackson has confirmed that while he was talking with Ashley Judd and considering her for a couple of roles in Lord of the Rings, Weinstein told him that Ashley Judd was difficult and a nightmare to work with, 1 year after refusing his sexual demands. Judd claims that as a result, she lost out on the chance to be in the iconic films and lost out on future work as well. And I have not spent a lot of time on my show talking about a lot of allegations, because allegations are difficult to talk about. I don't know what's true, what's real, what's not true, and all this kind of stuff. But in a situation like this, where Peter Jackson himself has confirmed that, oh yeah, Weinstein and his company Miramax got a hold of me while I was considering casting Ashley Judd for these movies to tell me, oh, she's a nightmare to work with. Oh, you don't want to work with her. And that's just 1 year after the fact that she shot down his sexual advances, and now he's trying to blacklist her around. That's just bad. I mean, but when has there been good news coming out about Harvey Weinstein? Whenever we talk about Harvey Weinstein, of course, it's something bad. And of course, I've normally tried to avoid the whole subject because I'm not an expert on this type of thing. So whatever I have to say is pretty pointless. But this one really stuck out to me. Especially hearing Peter Jackson confirming that, yep, they called me to say that she'd been doing it, and she didn't end up getting a role. Now, I don't remember Peter Jackson confirming that that's why he didn't cast her. It may have played a part, it may not have. It may have had everything to do with it. Who knows? We don't know for sure. But just the fact that those types of calls were being made, I don't think it's any kind of coincidence that Ashley Judd was one of the hottest actresses in Hollywood, and then it seemed like overnight she just kind of stopped appearing in movies. If it did have anything to do with this, I mean, that's just terrible. Anyway, Ashley Judd has already said that any money she does win from this lawsuit will go directly to what is the name of the fund? I believe it's the Me Too Defense Fund. I can't remember exactly the name of the organization, but I believe it's the Me Too Defense Fund. She said all the money would go there. All right, going on to something a little bit lighter now. Let's talk about a comedy coming up from Danny McBride. Danny McBride's new dark comedy called Arizona, which debuted at the Sundance Film Festival, has a new distributor and finally a release date upcoming. It's set to come out in the summer, or this summer. In the midst of 2009 housing crisis, Arizona's follows a single mom and struggling realtor whose life goes off the rails when she witnesses a murder. Danny McBride's character imprisons her due to her company having tricked him into mortgaging the home and that drained his bank account and wrecked his marriage. So I've heard a bunch of people talking about this film when they came out of the film festival, saying that they really liked it. I have still not seen Arizona myself, and I think there was some discussions about that it may not get a release at all, but apparently now it did get a distributor, and we're going to see it. Danny McBride, to me, is a little bit hit and miss. I like most of his stuff. Sometimes I find his shtick gets a little bit tired. You know what I was really pleasantly surprised with him? In the latest Aliens film. I know a lot of people rolled their eyes when Danny McBride was cast in that latest Aliens film, and I can't even remember the name of the film. But anyway, The latest Aliens one, he wasn't bad. I think it's fair to say even people who didn't like the movie kind of thought he might have been one of the stronger parts of it. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does with this. The fact that they call Arizona a dark comedy, whereas a lot of Danny McBride's comedy is kind of seen as a little bit schlocky and like shticky, you know what I mean, in many ways. It's going to be interesting to see him play that kind of role. So that's interesting. All right, let's go on to the next thing here. Now, we know that Avengers Infinity War has set the brand new opening weekend box office record. Well, it has become a bit of a tradition in Hollywood for a studio to congratulate a new film that takes over their opening weekend box office record. And in that spirit, Lucasfilm has just sent out a great note of their own to the folks down the hall from Disney at the Marvel offices for Infinity War breaking their opening weekend box office record. And you can see the note that they sent right here. It's a great image. I love that image. It looks like they're handing the baton, or the lightsaber in this case, over to Iron Man. It says, "From a galaxy far, far away to Earth's mightiest heroes, congratulations on the biggest opening weekend in history from Kathy and everyone at Lucasfilm." Now, I thought this was very classy. This was very nice. But then again, it's Disney sending Disney a congratulations letter. Congratulations, me. Thank you. So it's Disney sending Disney a congratulations letter, but still whatever. It's still pretty classy. And this has been an interesting little tradition lately that's been going on for a while. Some of my favorite ones, of course, the one there on the far left, that's the one George Lucas took out a full-page ad in Variety magazine when Titanic took over as like the #1 box office film of all time for Star Wars. And George Lucas put this little thing together with all the Star Wars characters on the sinking Titanic, saying congratulations from George. Then, of course, the first Avengers was the opening weekend record holder, and that got beat by Jurassic World. And of course, that one in the middle there, the good folks at Marvel sent out that congratulations note. Marvel Studios congratulates Jurassic World on being the opening weekend king. And of course, you got Chris Pratt on the dinosaur. And of course, Chris Pratt is himself in the MCU now. That record didn't stand for very long, because then along came The Force Awakens. And then Universal sent out their own congratulations. Universal Pictures, Stephen Frank Collin congratulates Star Wars The Force Awakens on being the biggest opening in galactic history. And now, of course, we've got the record is broken again. And we have this new one here. It's a really nice little tradition that I quite appreciate, and I hope it continues, although I'll be honest with you, I really don't know when this record is going to be broken. It may be a while before this record gets broken. But then again, we thought that about Star Wars The Force Awakens record too. Look how that turned out. All right, and the final news item here today, we're talking a little bit about Mel Gibson, because it looks like Gibson has picked the next project that he's going to direct. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Gibson will helm the film Destroyer, a World War II naval war movie based on a script by Rosalind Ross, Gibson's longtime girlfriend. Ship from an astounding 22 kamikaze attacks on the same day on April 16th, 1945. And of course, Mel Gibson is a crazy SOB, but he is one hell of a director. His last film, Hacksaw Ridge, was one of my favorite films of the year. I believe it came out in 2016. It might have been my favorite film of 2016. That movie and what Andrew Garfield did in that, and how Gibson directed him. And, Gibson has just shown he's got a track record of being like the elite level of directors. He knows how to direct. I was very excited, to be honest with you, when I heard that there was a potential he could direct Suicide Squad too. There was that possibility. I thought he would have been a really nice match for that. This sounds good as well. Now, here's the thing. This Destroyer movie, they may delay it, because right now, another studio is trying to get Mel Gibson to join the $6 billion Man film with Mark Wahlberg. They're trying to get Mel Gibson to join it with him. If he does join the film, the reports are saying that will push back and delay the start of Destroyer. By how much or for how long, we're not really sure. We're just going to have to wait and find out. And that'll do it for the movie news rundown, guys. All right, now we get to that part of the show where you guys send in the main topics of the day. How do you send in a topic or a question to be on the John Campea Show? It's really simple. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. And we get things started here with the first email today. And the first email today comes to us from Roman Anthony. And Roman Anthony writes, "Hey, Gio, love the show." Thank you so much, Roman. So, I Avengers Infinity War crashes in cashes in a record-breaking $630 million global opening weekend. That's huge. Actually, that number was adjusted up to $640 million, so it's even more impressive, especially when you think about how Justice League made $657 million globally for its entire theatrical run. My question is, with Infinity War breaking all kinds of records, how possible is it that it could take the all-time box office record? Thanks, and keep it filthy. All right. So with Infinity War now taking over the opening weekend box office record, some people want to start talking about the all-time box office record, which of course is held by Avatar at almost $2.8 billion. It's like 2.788 billion or something like that. So basically it's 2.8 billion, basically. So can Avengers Infinity War catch that record? I don't think so. I think most people don't think it can, because look, it basically opened to roughly the same amount as Star Wars The Force Awakens. And Star Wars The Force Awakens had great legs. Star Wars The Force Awakens opened with $9 million less, just $9 million less than Avengers Infinity War did, all right? So roughly the same amount. And Star Wars The Force Awakens had great legs, and it finished with $2.06 billion. So cracked the $2 billion mark, becoming only the third film in history to crack $2 billion, okay? So that's huge. Can Avengers Infinity War get to $2 billion? That's a big question. I think there's obviously a big argument that it could. I mean, The Force Awakens did, and it just opened with $9 million more than The Force Awakens did. Here's where it gets tricky, though. When talking about the all-time record, The Force Awakens opens to roughly the same amount as Infinity War, had great legs, and finished just over $2 billion. Avatar is still almost $800 million more than that. It's not some little tiny amount more. It's just got to catch The Force Awakens at 2.06 billion and then just go a little bit more to catch Avatar. No, it's like there's Star Wars The Force Awakens here, $2 billion. Well, first of all, down here, there's Jurassic World at 1.6 billion. Next up is Star Wars The Force Awakens at 2.06. Then the next one up is like, what's the next one? Titanic at like 2.1 billion. So a little bit there. But the next one up from there, like way up here, is Avatar at almost $2.8 billion. That's nearly $800 million more. When Infinity War just opened with $9 million more than The Force Awakens. So on that front, it looks doubtful. It looks doubtful. On top of that, it's a long movie. Now, there are longer movies, but it's a long movie, clocking over just over 2.5 hours long. It's also, I mean, it's the type of movie that I don't think, I've already heard from many of you guys who've told me, loved Infinity War, don't plan on seeing it again, but I had a really good time with it. Hear from a lot of people, they don't plan on seeing it again. I've heard from some of you guys, you've already seen it 3 or 4 times. I've seen it 3 times already. All those things put together, to me, means the real question we should be asking is, does Infinity War beat The Force Awakens overall worldwide? That's, I think, the realistic question. Because that's the one, clearly, it's already ahead of it, so it can catch that. Another 800 million? It's way behind pace for that. And at the length of the film, the tone of the film, I just don't know that I see people going like average film fans. Because the thing with Avatar was, even though you and I may go to see Infinity War 3, 4, 5 times in theaters, average moviegoers don't do that. But average moviegoers did go to see Avatar 5, 6, 7 times. Like people who go to the movies 4 or 5 times a year went to go see Avatar 4 times. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know that Infinity War is like that type of movie. Again, you cannot overstate how big of a gap there is between just the $2 billion club, which Star Wars The Force Awakens just got into, and $2.8 billion. Like you're talking about almost adding another billion on top of that. Because of that, I have a hard time seeing it happen. It could catch The Force Awakens and pass The Force Awakens and move The Force Awakens from the number 3 all-time worldwide spot down to number 4. That can happen. I think that's got a solid chance at that. Obviously, it's already ahead. But catching Avatar? I don't know. It would be crazy cool to see it happen. I've been waiting for Avatar to get knocked out of that spot for a long time, and I would love for it to be Infinity War. But it's just such an insurmountable number, apparently, that I just don't see it becoming that movie. But who knows? Who knows? I mean, a while ago, I didn't think it could catch the Force Awakens opening weekend number. But man, there's a big difference between the Force Awakens opening weekend number and Avatar's all-time number. So I don't know, what do you guys think? And justify it. Like, do you think that Avengers Infinity War could catch Avatar and hit that $2.8 billion mark? If yes, tell me why. I mean, especially considering that it's only $9 million. It only opened $9 million higher than The Force Awakens did. And The Force Awakens had great legs and only got over $2 billion. Tell me why. Maybe you can change my mind. I would love to have my mind changed because it would be great if it set the record. I just don't see it happening. All right, let's move on now to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Gannon, who writes, I was looking at getting Sinemia after its recent launch in Canada. That's right, Sinemia is available in Canada now. That's great. But for those of you who don't know, Sinemia is a Movie Pass competitor. It's a movie membership card. I contacted Landmark and Cineplex to check if it can be used. Landmark responded with saying that they have no partnership with Sinemia, and Cineplex said they don't have any information at this time. What does this mean? Neither of those theaters confirmed I can use Sinemia at their locations, but Sinemia says I can. Should I believe Sinemia and sign up? The answer to that question is yes. You can believe them and you can sign up because, I should have brought my Sinemia card with me. I got my wallet's downstairs. Anyway, that's what a Sinemia card looks like. Here's the thing about how Sinemia, and this is the same way Movie Pass works, by the way, at the same time. Because even though AMC doesn't want to take Movie Pass, they don't have a choice because the Movie Pass card isn't really a Movie Pass card. The Movie Pass card, much like the Sinemia card, is actually a MasterCard debit credit card. It just, one has Movie Pass written on it, one has Sinemia written on it, but it's a MasterCard. Like a Visa, MasterCard, American Express, it's a MasterCard. And when you run one of those cards, all the system sees is MasterCard. That's all it sees. So that's why, even though AMC would, if they had their choice, they would not take Movie Pass. But there's nothing they can do about it because if you run it at the kiosk, all the kiosk sees is a MasterCard. And that works, right? So what happens is this. The way it works is you get on the app, Sinemia, Movie Pass, it all basically works the same way. You get on the app, tell Sinemia, hey, I'm going to go to this movie theater, because if the movie theater is listed on the app, it works at it and works at almost all theaters. I'm going to be at this theater and I want to go to this movie at this showtime. Well, what happens is the system then knows exactly how much a ticket is for that screening of that movie at that movie theater and credits that much money to your MasterCard. Then you go to the kiosk, or if you can use Sinemia online and buy your tickets online as well. And when it asks for your credit, you either just swipe the Sinemia card like you're swiping a regular credit card, or if you're buying your tickets online, just enter the card number like you're entering a MasterCard number. And the system just sees, yep, he's buying these tickets with a MasterCard, and it just works. So even though they don't have a partnership with Landmark, and even though they don't have a partnership with Cineplex Odeon, it'll still work. As long as Sinemia says they will make it work there, it works there. So you're good to go and enjoy. I'm really excited because on my last trip back to Canada, Sinemia wasn't up there yet, so I couldn't use my Sinemia card. I'm all excited now that on my next trip to Canada to visit my family, I can actually use my Sinemia card and go see these damn movies. So that's awesome for me. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. All right, let's move on to the final emailed in question today. And the final emailed in question today comes to us from Amanda. And Amanda writes, so you've praised Josh Brolin's Thanos as being compared to Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight. And I know you love Patrick Stewart in Logan. So my question for you is, if you could give an Oscar to one of them, which would you choose? Does Brolin have a shot at being nominated this year? Thanks, and the filthy demands words. All right, thanks a lot for the question. And yeah, so in my review of Avengers Infinity War, one of the things that I said, and I'm not the only person saying this, lots of people are saying this, but is that beyond a shadow of a doubt to me, the best thing about that movie is Thanos. Thanos is the best part of Infinity War. And one of the things that I said was, not only is he easily the best villain we've ever had in the MCU, I also said that, you know what, you could make an argument that he may be the best comic book movie villain ever. And that includes the Joker from The Dark Knight. Now, some people, when I said that, some people who hadn't even seen Infinity War yet, so they had no right to even comment, started giving me a lot of shit for that, saying, oh, you lost all your credibility. I instantly block anybody who says that because they have no credibility. But you lost your credibility because you said there's just no way he's better than Heath Ledger's Joker. And I'm like, I'm sorry, did you see the movie? Oh, that's right, you didn't. So you have no qualification to even give an opinion right now. But anyway. And look, I just said I think a discussion, it's worth a discussion. But here's the thing. Somebody wrote me and said, how can you possibly say the performance is better than Heath Ledger's Joker? Heath Ledger was a real actor on screen and blah, blah, blah. I said, whoa. Time out here, kid. I'm talking about the character. I'm talking about a character in a movie. I never said we were talking about performance. I never said Josh Brolin gave a better performance than Heath Ledger did. I didn't say that. I said the Thanos character. There's an argument to be made that maybe it's the best comic book villain ever, Marvel or DC or Fox or anything. That includes Heath Ledger's Joker. I did not start the conversation. I did not say this was a conversation about which actor gave a better performance. Because they're two separate topics. They're two different things. But John, the performance is the character. No, it's not. The performance is a part of the character, yes, but not the totality of the character. A lot of the character is the writing of the character that the writers and the director create, that then the actor comes in and breathes life into. It's a two-part system here. It's not just, the performance itself is not the character. Now, I'll say this. I think Josh Brolin did a very good job in this movie. That being said, and I've got nothing negative to say about Josh Brolin's performance in it, especially being a CGI character. But I believe, and you may disagree with me on this, and that's fine. I believe that 70% of Thanos, the character, was the writing. And that 30% of it was Josh Brolin breathing life into it. It only really works if Josh Brolin does his job well, and he does it very well. But I believe like 70% of Thanos was the writing of the character. Heath Ledger's Joker, I believe you probably switch those numbers around. I believe like 30% of it was the writing of it, and about 70% of it, at least according to Christopher Nolan, who directed the film, about 70% of it was what Heath Ledger himself brought to it. So in talking about the character, how much of it was the writing, how much of it was the performance? So I'm not saying that Josh Brolin gives a better performance than Heath Ledger gave in The Dark Knight. Not at all. But I am saying that the totality, when you combine the writing and the performance and everything else that goes into that character, I am saying that I think a valid argument can be made that Thanos in Avengers Infinity War is the best comic book movie villain we've ever had. And I believe there's lots of reasons to make that argument. And you may have some reasons to argue the other way. That's totally fine too. It's a valid discussion and debate to have. Now, let's get on to the big question. With that context being given, do I think that the character of Thanos can lead to a potential Oscar nomination for Josh Brolin? I'm going to say no. And if I could only give one Oscar to either Patrick Stewart for his performance in Logan or to Josh Brolin for his performance in Infinity War, I'm giving it to Patrick Stewart, no questions asked. And I guarantee you Josh Brolin would give it to Patrick Stewart too. Again, that is not knocking Josh Brolin at all. He did a very, very good job with that movie. But a lot of that was the writing of the character and the type of character they made him, as opposed to the performance itself. Josh Brolin did great. I think he's going to kick ass in Deadpool 2. I think he's going to be amazing in Sicario. But would I give him an Oscar for Thanos? No. I think there's probably going to be a lot others that will be on that list, but probably not him at that point. But hey, it's a worthy discussion to have by all means. So hopefully I made my position clear. Again, just because that's my position doesn't mean I'm right. I'm just saying that's my opinion and those are my reasons for my opinion. But hey, I'd love to hear your opinion too. Jump down to the comment section and let me know what you guys think. Okay, with all the email stuff out of the way and the movie news done, we've got about 10 minutes left here. I'm going to go over and take some live questions for you guys. And then we're going to get things started here with Hector Jetter, who writes, just saw your Avengers 2012 review, and my God, good on you for your weight loss. No, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, like, look, there were years after my heart attacks, and like I was training in MMA like 5 days a week. I was this, I was that, I was all that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden I had heart attacks. And then all of a sudden, I'm not doing anything. I was scared to walk for distances. I was scared to do everything. And for years, like I ballooned up to like 240 pounds. I think my highest peak, I got up to like 245. So, yeah, I mean, look, I'm still not in the best shape of my life. Clearly, I'm not in the best shape of my life. I'm not in bad shape right now, but I'm not in the best shape of my life. I still got a ways to go. But yeah, those were harder times. But anyway, thank you so much for the comment, Hector. I appreciate that. Hector also follows up with thoughts on one of my guilty pleasure movies, Mac and Me, the one with the alien and the kid in the wheelchair. I want to like it, but I don't. I'm glad you enjoy it. I'm glad it holds a special place in your heart. I remember I saw it a couple of times when I was like much younger. No, that movie never did it for me, to be honest with you. I never liked the movie, obviously, as much as you did, but I never appreciated the movie that much, to be honest. Hector follows up one more time. I still admire the Lord of the Rings trilogy, especially Return. That trilogy still holds up. It really is a cinematic achievement. I still rewatch the trailers. I mean, look, I cannot go through a year without watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I have to watch it at least once every year. It is a masterpiece. Like sometimes I'll refer to Man of Steel as a masterpiece of the genre, but forget of the genre. Lord of the Rings is just a masterpiece. And Return of the King, again, we've said this before, no movie in history has ever won more Academy Awards than Lord of the Rings Return of the King. It was nominated in 11 categories and it won in 11 categories. It swept completely. I don't think we'll ever see another movie get nominated in at least 10 Academy Award nomination categories and win all of them. I don't think that's ever going to happen again. So yeah, you're damn right that movie holds up. Speaking of Peter Jackson and Lord of the Rings. James Welsh writes, what are the chances in part 2 pushes close to 3 hours? Well, first of all, it's not part 2, it's Avengers 4. Be clear about that. Well, I don't know. It's possible. Look, there was a story out last week that the Russo brothers have mentioned that they would love to have more time. They would love to stretch it. Disney has reservations about stretching a movie past 2.5 hours. We know this. I hope they don't. I just don't think it's necessary. Like if you can't, I remember I heard this one great director once say, if you can't tell your story in 2 hours, then you're telling the wrong story. Now, I think there are exceptions to that, clearly. But if you can do Infinity War in 2.5 hours, there's no excuse to needing more than that for part 4. Now, then again, we don't know what they have in mind. Anything's possible, but I hope they don't. Because you and me may go, oh man, make it 4 hours, that's great. But the average film fan does not feel the same way. The average film fan doesn't necessarily feel the same way. Like, I personally know people that didn't go see Avengers Infinity War yet because they don't want to go and sit in a movie theater. By the time you get through the trailers and everything, they don't want to go sit in a movie theater for 3 hours. And I get that. So you and me may be like, yeah, make it as long as you want. But the majority of moviegoers don't feel the same way. So I think 2.5 hours is probably fine. And again, like I said, if you can do Infinity War in 2.5 hours, there's no reason you need more for Avengers 4. I don't think, at any rate. All right, but that's just my opinion. I could be totally wrong. Let's Watch writes, Thanos demands that Oscar. Again, I don't know what categories it could be nominated for. I don't know. I don't know what it could be nominated for. Score could be consideration. Visual effects is obviously going to be one. Sound editing is certainly one. I think there are a couple of Oscar categories. It could come away with like 3 or 4, but it's way too early in the year to say for sure. We'll have to get closer to Oscar season to see what other movies do before we can make that type of call. Let's Watch also follows up with, but seriously, just wanted to thank you. I know we don't agree on some things. Well, we're not supposed to agree on everything. But your shows get me through depressing times. No question, just sending the love to one of my favorite YouTubers. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is still a great show, though. We've been having that discussion. I still don't like it. I wish I did. But it's awesome that you do. And it's awesome that it has its fans. And you know, one of the guys I bumped into, true story, at the after party for Avengers Infinity War, I bumped into Clark Gregg. We're standing at one of the food lines, and there's nobody else there, and we both went for the bread at the same time and bumped into Clark Gregg. So that's Agent Coulson, for those you know, on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., who's going to be, by the way, in Marvel's Captain Marvel. I'm looking forward to that. Because I think even though I don't like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think the only reason I keep watching it is to watch Clark Gregg. I think it is to watch Clark Gregg. And we'll just see how that goes. All right, I'm going to take just 2 more questions here, and then we'll call it a day. And if I don't get around to your question, don't worry. It will be answered in an upcoming companion video. Marcus Skiles writes, did Avatar have an advantage with the release of IMAX and IMAX 3D to making so much money? No, not really, because if you go back and actually look at how much money did it actually make in IMAX, it's not hugely significant. But there were minor advantages, but I wouldn't say it was all that much because, look, after all, Avengers is also being released in 3D. So there's 3D screenings for that too. So maybe an advantage, but it wouldn't be much of an advantage. And the last question today comes to us from Marcus Skiles again, who goes, could you please clarify what happened between Fox and Josh Trank? Maybe you know something I don't. What I do know, I am not at liberty to discuss. I made promises of secrecy, and I'm not going to break that. Fair enough for you to ask, but some things were told to me in confidence, and I'm not going to reveal what those were. And you know, last question of the day. Nicholas Piera writes, would not it be naive to believe that Spidey in the MCU and Venom Sony Spider-Verse are 2 antagonistic projects? Even if the deal fixes Marvel and Sony, there is clearly conflict of interest. Nothing is clear until we see how they plan to work this out. Because right now, look, we don't know how this is being planned out. We don't know how this is being planned out. We don't know what they're going to do with these things. So we're making us, like you're even just saying that, isn't it clear that, no, nothing's clear. Until we see the movies and until we really see what the behind the scenes plan is, we can't say anything. So I would say don't be too quick to jump to an assumption on something we clearly yet do not know. There's a big part of this whole Sony Marvel deal. We know like 3% of what that Sony Marvel deal covered when they made the deal to have, Spider-Man in the MCU. We know probably about just the tip of the iceberg. So let's wait to see what their overall plan was, how they're going to flow into it, how they're going to flow out of it, all that kind of stuff before we make any type of decisions like that. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for joining me. Hey, listen, guys, don't forget, if you enjoy my programming, do me a favor. Head on over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. There you'll get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter keeps this show on the air, and of course, what advantages there are to being a Patreon supporter. And then maybe you'll decide to be a Patreon supporter too. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for me for now. My name's John Campea. Thanks for joining me. And until my next video, bye-bye.